guys, this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here for a complete beginners information kind of video. I thought that I would do a very short series, or maybe it will just be a couple of videos. I'm not really too sure how many it will end up being, on making your first junk journal. This came about really because I was talking to my sister who was kind of saying, well, I wouldn't really know where to start, with making a junk journal. And so I said to her, well, I will perhaps try and put something together with you in mind, because obviously there must be lots of people out there who, perhaps feel the same way. So what I'm going to do, and first of all, going to just kind of share with you, this here was my son's junk journal that he made. When I made my very first junk journal, he and I made one at the same time. I have sold mine since, so I no longer have mine, but he made a similar looking one at the same time. So, I mean, obviously, he was kind of 10 at the time. So, it's obviously not finished kind of to the best standards. But I just wanted to kind of share it with you and show you, because we both followed a sort of similar style in doing our junk journal. So basically we took an old book and we altered the book to make it just appear very vintage and scrumptious and, just something super yummy to look at and to write in, to put photographs in and things like that. Just, something really nice, really. So, I mean, obviously there's the process of making the journal itself, which, is very, very enjoyable. And of course, it's super addictive. So there's that side of things, which, if you then are not really going to be journaling yourself, you could possibly sell your junk journal, you could gift it to people, all of those kinds of things. And then there's obviously the process of journaling itself. I mean, I have to confess and say, I personally am not a journaler. I only really journal kind of on special events. So like if we go on holiday, I do tend to make a journal for going on holiday and, journal in there, and things like that. But on the whole, I'm not really a big journaler. But when you do, you do your journaling and things, again, it can take any form. So, completely and utterly up to you, which is why this is such a fantastic hobby. I mean, they're called junk journals because, of course, they're just made from, or they've evolved from, using all old bits and bobs that you have laying around. It may be using junk mail, it may be using old clothes, old books, things like that. They have evolved, and, a lot of my journals that I make now are possibly not really containing kind of much in the way of, what we would call junk. But this one, I mean, this is kind of using old supplies, old books and things like that, and, things that we did have laying around. Obviously, I was from a fortunate position that I was a crafter already. So I did have a lot of crafting materials and things to actually call upon. But if you didn't, then I'm going to hopefully give you some ideas as to some other things that you could pull in to make your first journal. And then like I was just saying, once you've created your journal, if you didn't want to kind of sell it and you wanted to keep it, your journal then, it's for you to use as you wish. So, you may want to use it more like, a diary of sorts, or just a way of documenting your day, or a particular, perhaps, phase that you're going through in your life or something, or a holiday, for instance, or something that maybe you're struggling with at the moment, maybe that you're going through a difficult time at the moment. And journaling, you could just use it to doodle, you could use it to write poetry and, some verses and things like that. You could literally take words from books and things and kind of put them around in it. It's completely your book, and you can, use it exactly as you like. You can add colour, you can keep it vintage looking, you can, do a kind of completely different theme on every single page, completely and utterly up to you. So we're going to just kind of explore really, if you're starting out and you're kind of thinking, well, I fancy having a go at that, it would zap up some of my time and use up some of my energy that perhaps, is at the moment dwelling on, negative thoughts, or, perhaps you're not in a very good place at the moment and, you're just looking to kind of distract yourself. Then hopefully this is going to be a little bit helpful for you. And I've picked this because, as I say, I did my first junk journal like this as well. So I used an altered book, which I found was the easiest thing because, of course, you know, if you have looked into doing journals, but you're a little bit kind of, you know, intimidated and put off, which I was definitely, by things like sewing the signature in and making a cover and all of that stuff. Obviously, doing an altered book takes all of that out of it because you've already got your journal sat there. So let's have a look and see what we're going to do. So I've just got a book here. This is, I don't think this is really a vintage book. Let me have a look. It's, yeah, I mean, I got it from a kind of, you know, secondhand store, but I think it's probably, you know, maybe like 10 years old or something. It's in very good condition. So as you can see, it's, you know, all intact. The spine's kind of in good condition and things like that. Again, you could just go to like a pound store or something and buy a brand new book for this. It does not have to be a vintage book. In fact, you may find it much easier to work with something that's not vintage because it's not going to be falling apart and things. So all I'm going to do is take my book, which is going to be my, you know, my foundation piece of my journal. And then what I want to do, and I have done a video on working on an altered book before, is I'm going to go through to thin the book down. So if you kind of noticed, my son's journal didn't have a whole bunch of pages. You know, we've got a few pages here. So all I want to do is kind of go through here. Now I tend to leave the first few pages intact, the ones that actually are, you know, not very heavy on the text and things. And then I like to go through the journal and start tearing out. So what I generally do is I like to glue 2 pages together and then tear out. Now, the amount you tear out is going to depend on how thick your book is to start with, how thick you want your book to be to end. So I've heard lots of people say kind of 8 pages. So, you know, we'll go for, I think we'll go for like 7 pages or something in here because this book is not the thickest book. So I'm going to just start with 7 and we'll just see how we get on. And all I'm going to do is just go in and tear them out like that. Okay, so I'm just going to put those to one side. Then I'm going to keep another 2 pages, which again, I'm going to glue together, and they're going to be my, you know, foundation pages. So then again, I'm going to now take another 2 pages like this, so that basically I'm going to make these into a little pocket page, and then I want to do the same again. So 2 there, then I'm going to count out 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm just going to tear those out like that. Okay. And then again, I want to just have my 2 pages glued together, which again are going to form another pocket. Then I'm doing exactly the same. So I keep 2 there, count out 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to tear those out. Okay. Oops. Come on. Oh, sorry. Do apologise for knocking the desk there. My desk is quite an old desk, so when it's, you know, when it does get knocked, it unfortunately does shake the, you know, shake the whole table. So I do apologise for that. Right, if you get this scenario where obviously I've torn my pages out, but it's not quite, you know, torn them out well enough, you can always obviously go in and just re-tear them like that. Okay. This is going to be hidden anyway because these pages are going to be glued together, and this will all make sense in a minute. So 1, 2, and then again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're going to tear those out. Okay, like that, and then we're going to do again 1, 2, and then another 2 here to be my next page. And then we're going to again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're going to tear those. Oops, tear those out. And I'm not throwing these pages away. I'm just putting them to the side of me because we may well use these in, you know, further into the book. So just now, again, just tidying this up where, you know, I haven't made the best job of tearing the pages out. You know, you don't have to worry too much, because when you glue your pages together, you're going to effectively, you know, get round this anyway, but just tidying it a little bit. So again, got 2 there, and then I want my next 2. So you've got like 2 and 2 together, and then your bunch of torn out ones, and then 2 and 2 together again. So 2 and 2 together, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there, and we're just going to tear those out again. So I mean, hopefully as well, you know, this little series is going to be really pretty much incorporating things that you're going to hopefully have either immediately in your home, or certainly easy access to, without having to spend a, you know, a fortune or buy a whole bunch of craft supplies that you might never use again and things. So hopefully we've all got sort of old books and things that we could maybe use for this type of project. And you know, if not, then like I say, they're going to just be quite easily accessible to just buy, you know, a cheap book from either a second-hand store or maybe a pound shop or something like that. So again, just tearing those pages out, just to kind of neaten it up along here. And obviously, you know, you don't have to tear your pages all out in one chunk. I'm obviously trying to do it a little bit quicker because I'm doing a video. If I wasn't doing the video, the chances are I would perhaps be, you know, taking a little bit more time tearing them out, maybe like 2 at a time or something, rather than trying to tear the whole chunk of 7 in one go, which is obviously then causing this to happen. So again, just tidy this up a little bit. I mean, actually, to be honest, this one's probably okay. So 1, 2, and then another 2 here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tear that one down. Oops. Okay. Oops. So I mean, for this particular type of journal, you know, the main time-consuming bit is this, which I would call the prep. So this is prepping your book. And I mean, again, if you were making one where you're going to be sewing the signatures in and things, again, your main time-consuming bit is really going to be, you know, the preparing your pages. So again, I'm going to leave these pages at the end. So that's my book now. As you can see, it's much, much thinner. And then what I want to do, and again, and I have mentioned this before as well, I saw this in a tip. I think it was Crafty Irina who made a suggestion that stick your pages from the back going forward, because you're less likely to then compromise the you know, the form of your book. So what I'm going to do here is glue my pages. So I'm gluing these 2 together, and then we've got the bunch that I tore out. So if I just show you here, and again, you might want to, you know, you might want to use double-sided tape for this. You could use, you know, if you have a reliable glue stick that you get on with, you could use a glue stick. Just whichever glue that you get on with best is absolutely fine. I mean, double-sided tape, to be honest, that works wonders too. So however you find the easiest to do. So I'm just going to spread it out with my glue spreader. Again, no special tools required. My glue spreader is just my reward card. Okay, now what I've got is obviously this thick page here, which is kind of the 2 pages doubled up. And then what I want to do is here where I've got the torn out pages, I just want to run some glue down the edge like that, and here like that, and then glue those together like that. So again, just work that out. Okay, and that's forming what's known in the junk journal world as a pocket. Okay, so then what I've got is I've got my other page to thicken this up with. So I'm going to, again, you know, and we're doing this all in reverse order, if you remember, you know, we're starting from the back of the book. So going to just now glue this down. So basically gluing my pocket like that, which has got a double page already, and then it's got this single page, gluing that onto the next page. So that basically then what I've got is basically a double page and then a sort of pocket gap in the middle and then another double page. And the reason I'm doing the double pages, I'm just going to go in here with a line of glue down the edge because it's not very close to the edge. The reason I've got the double pocket is purely because when we start gluing things into our journal, I want to have something a little bit thicker, you know, to hold other sort of pretty things on this page. So that's the only reason why I'm doubling those pages up, because I don't want to have like a flimsy little piece of paper with then potentially other things all stuck on it. So going to go in here now again with some glue, and this is my next two. You remember that we did the kind of two, then the two, or yeah, we did the two, then we tore the pages out, and then we did another two to form the pocket, and then immediately afterwards we did another two again, and then we tore the pages out, and then we had another two to complete that, you know, that pocket. So that's that. Okay, and then what I will do now is obviously open that up, and you can see that's where my pages have been torn from. So again, just then going in to the side with my glue like that, and again just press those down, gluing them together. Okay, and then we will take these pages. So this is the next one to kind of double up the thickness to just kind of make it a little bit more robust. So just glue all over there. And again, you know, depending on the glue that you use will depend on how long this is going to take to dry and things like that. So it's all worth kind of experimenting and finding what suits you best. I like to use Anita's tacky glue. That's just the glue that, you know, I've used for a long time, and so I'm just used to that glue and find that easy to use. But, you know, play around and find the glue that suits you best. So again, now I've got the next two pages because that's obviously glued now into a pocket. So exactly the same thing again, just gluing the two pages together like that. Okay. Like that. Okay. Looking good. And then I'm just going to again down the edge here to form my pocket like that. Push that down. Okay. That's my pocket there. And again, open that up. So again, I've got the double there and the single sheet of book page there. So I want to now make that a double layer of book page by just gluing that one together like that. Okay. And, you know, things like this, I mean, it seems very tedious. And when you're doing it, you know, it kind of feels a bit like an endless task. And you think, oh, gosh, perhaps I won't bother. But stick with it. And, you know, the more journals that you make, the quicker you're going to become at all of these types of things. And, you know, the more efficient the method that you find suiting you and, you know, things like that. So don't kind of give up. It will get there and you'll be so pleased when you've stuck with it, because these feel absolutely gorgeous. I mean, they feel literally like you've just stumbled across something in, you know, in an attic, like an antique. They're really, really nice. So yeah, but I do understand that when you're doing this type of part, you probably are thinking, oh gosh, you know, this is tedious, this takes forever, and, you know, oh, it will never kind of result in anything looking very good. But honestly, if you stick with it, you will be so thrilled with your finished book, I'm sure. So, okay. That's that one. And then again, I've got my torn out pages. So again, just want to form my pocket here. Like that. And like that. Okie dokie. And just press that down. Whoops. Just press that down. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to continue on with the rest of the book until it's pretty much glued together. Just a quick note is when I come to where I stopped tearing the pages out, i.e. these pages here, I don't glue these together. I try and keep these as separate individual pages that I can then just use these for journaling, and exactly the same with those few that I left in the back of the book as well. So that's kind of just a note there, just to kind of point that out. Again, completely up to you how you do your book. It's, you know, it's going to be your book, and, you know, you do it sort of exactly as you fancy. But I shall get on now. I'm finished gluing this together, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I'm back with my book, and it's drying nicely. It's not dry, but it's drying. So what we want to do now is kind of dig out some decorative papers. Now, again, because I'm doing this as a complete beginner's video, I'm kind of thinking that, you know, you possibly maybe don't have any decorative papers. So to give you some kind of options and choices, of course, you can always use things like, you know, wrapping paper, wallpaper. You know, you can get the wallpaper samples in the shops and things like that. You could use all of those types of things for your decorative papers. Of course, there's paper packs and things, or, you know, patterned papers that you can get in craft stores. So you could go and get some of that. You could use things like magazine pages and things if you've got some that, you know, are quite nice. There are, of course, digital downloads and things, you know, that you can buy online. I mean, I have my own Etsy store with lots of digital downloads, but of course, not everybody has a printer, or, you know, possibly you haven't bought digital downloads before, so you don't really want to do that. So I'm going to give you some alternatives here, really. So as you know, we kept our book pages as I was tearing them out. And all I'm going to do is literally do kind of like a wash over them with some paints and some watercolour pencils and things, so that we've just got some, you know, coloured pages basically that we can use in here. So we'll take the pinky colour, and we'll take some of this. Haven't done this before, so this is a kind of bit of a, you know, fingers crossed, hope this pans out okay type style video, but yep, hopefully it's going to go okay. So all I'm going to do is just squeeze, oops, not even opened that one, so hold on. In fact, I don't think I've opened either of them because I only bought them quite recently. So let me just undo these. And again, you know, you don't have to go out and buy special things. You can use any paint that you've got in your house. So if you've got some old paint from, you know, literally decorating your house, use that. It's absolutely fine. It's going to work the same as this acrylic paint. If you've got, you know, perhaps children's paint, the pots of children's paint, use that. That would work absolutely fine too. You do not have to buy special things. Just anything that you've got on hand. You could use felt tip pens. You could use, you know, anything at all. All I'm trying to do is literally just get some colour onto the book pages. So I'm then going to just spray with water. So again, you don't really need a special sprayer. You know, you can just kind of do some droplets, you know, just sprinkling them on with your fingers or whatever. You really don't need special products and tools and things like that. So I'm just going to go in here with my paints across the page. Just literally getting some colour on here. I'm not, you know, I'm not looking at all or paying any attention as to how it's going on. I'm just, you know, the goal is just to get some colour going on here basically. So like that. Okay, And, you know, I'm not trying to necessarily cover up the text. I just want to dull it down so that it becomes more of a sort of background detail rather than, you know, the prominent feature. So I'm just going to put that to one side to dry. Okay, I might just have to spray some more water onto that acrylic paint. So we'll do a couple of sheets of that so as we've got, you know, several ready to go. Okay, and then what I've also brought along actually is, and you might be able to just glimpse it, I've just bought some coffee along to do some coffee dyeing. I have got a video on coffee dyeing, kind of, you know, more large quantities, but if you're just trying to do just, you know, a few pages and things, you could just do it with a paintbrush at your desk. So let's just get this on here. Okay, like that. So let's just dip the brush into the coffee and then just kind of take it to our paints. So, oh, that's better because I've got a lot more water now on here. And the coffee obviously is just given a nice added colour to the page. So, like that. Okay. Like that. I mean, I don't necessarily want to colour all of the pages that we tore out, but just a few, so I've got just a few things to have some colour going onto the page. So again, just put that to dry, and we'll just do, I don't know, kind of 4 more or something. So we've just got a few ready to use. Oops, I could do with a bit more of the acrylic paint now. But it's quite nice to have the different tones. So this one obviously, you know, has very little of the pinky colour in it, but just a little bit, enough to kind of show through. So I'm just going to squirt some more out. Okay. Okie dokie, and a bit more. Okay, and again, just a little bit more coffee and put that there. Okay. Whoa, that's very, very red, isn't it? Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh well, never mind. We have a good range of colours going on now, so that's all good. Okay. Well, I guess we want variety, don't we? So yeah, it's all good. So I'm going to just put that one down to dry now. Let's try and pick up a bit more of the paler colour this time. Okie dokie. I mean, the only thing that you might want to watch out for is if you've picked a sort of more modern book, you know, you might just want to make sure that it hasn't really got any kind of bad words showing and things like that. But, you know, hopefully not too bad. So, or hopefully they wouldn't be too frequent. So, but you might just want to kind of bear that in mind. Okay, let's just put that to, oops, to one side again. Okay, we'll do a couple more. Okie dokie. And I might not even use all of these, you know, I might have done way too many, you know, or I might run out and wish I'd done more. But that's, you know, that's all fine too. So again, just put that to one side. Okay, we'll just do one more, I think. Or we could probably do 2 more actually with this little bit of paint that we've got left. Okay. Like that. as I say, you know, you can totally use household paint and things. You really don't need kind of special paints. You don't need the acrylic paints. You don't need anything like that. Just use what you've got. You know, this is a total kind of no need to buy extra, you know, extra things kind of project. So, okay. Okie dokie. Okay, right. And we'll move that to one side as well. Okay. Right, let me just mop my table up. So that's those. I've also got some watercolour pencils. So again, you could play around with, you know, anything like that if you happen to have any watercolour pencils. You know, these again are merely suggestions. If you don't have watercolour pencils or anything, it's, you know, it's no big deal. They're not the be all and end all. I'm just literally trying to give, you know, some options. So again, you know, you could just kind of go over and just, you know, do some shading and then kind of hopefully just blend it in. So like I say, I have not experimented with this, so it may just be going to be a complete disaster, but let's hope not. So just put a bit of blue in there. Okay, separate that out, otherwise I'll just end up with it all stuck together. So just going with my coffee dyed water. Okay. Right, so I'm not really loving how this looks, to be honest. I mean, this probably could have done with some gesso, but again, you know, this is a beginner's video, and so I'm kind of thinking that most people probably wouldn't have things like gesso. You know, certainly when I started out, I had probably never even heard of things like gesso. So I'm just going to kind of try and blend it a little bit. This is a wet wipe. I'm just trying to, you know, blend it a bit. The gesso is special stuff that's like a primer, basically, to use in your art projects. And that would just enable that to just blend, you know, more easily. But if you haven't got it, that's fine. You know, I don't think that looks too bad anyway. So let's just do a couple more of those, just in case we'd want, you know, any more of them. So again, let's just take that colour around. Okay. I mean, I'm no artist, as you can see, so I'm just literally getting colour down on the page. That's all I'm kind of trying to do here. I'm not trying to, you know, do some nice elegant colouring or anything, obviously. I'm just literally trying to get some colour on that we can then move around a little bit. So, okay. And again, just take my coffee dye and then just hopefully that will move that around a little bit. Okie dokie. So this one actually seems to have gone even worse than the first one. So it might have been where I was so slapdash with my colouring, who knows, but you know, again, I'm not really too worried because these are literally just going to be kind of little touches in the background. They're not really even going to be hugely on show, I would think, once it's kind of, you know, put together. So that's kind of that. Okay, let me just pop my pencils away. Okay, right, I'm just going to now move those pages out of the way to dry. Let me just wipe my desk down again. And then of course you've got the option of having, you know, just coffee dyed paper, obviously without the paint. So again, what I've done, I've just brought along, oops, let me just grab in what I have brought along. Okay, trying not to just topple everything over that I've got beside me that I've brought along. So beside me, I've just got some plain lined paper. So again, you know, you can just now coffee dye your papers. As I say, I do have another video for coffee dyeing, you know, like more en masse. This is just to get some coffee dye down on, you know, small quantities of pages, really. So it's not intended really as a sort of, you know, coffee dye a ton of stuff. It's just for like small quantities. So again, that's that one. Okay, just put that to the side. Okay. And, you know, I mean, coffee dyed paper, to be honest, it's going to look awesome. It has this brilliant quality of just making everything look really old and vintage. And, you know, look at it. It's taking like 2 seconds to do. So it's, you know, it's not really a big kind of effort or anything. And it will be really nice. Again, if you haven't got paintbrushes, you know, you can always use sponges. You know, you could probably use an old cloth. You could use an old wipe. So again, don't feel that if you haven't got, you know, for instance, a paintbrush, that you can't do this. If you don't have coffee, you can always use tea. So play around and experiment. So, you know, absolutely no rules. You're just literally trying to get some different coloured paper, basically, to put in your journal. So it's not completely, you know, completely plain, like plain white paper. And this is just, again, you know, based on the assumption that, you know, possibly if you're starting out, you might not have things like inks and paints and, you know, all those different things. So it's just a way of colouring your papers if you don't have, you know, pretty papers and things like that to use. But like I say, I mean, you know, feel free to use things like wrapping paper, the wallpaper samples, all of those things. They're all great for, you know, for using as some decorative papers. So, right, I'm running out of space now to put all of my paper whilst it's drying. So, yeah, okay, right, going to put that down there. And then I also finally just brought along a couple of junk mail envelopes, or, you know, old envelopes, that again, I'm just going to now coffee dye them like that, that you might then want to use in your journal as well. So, okie dokie. Right, like that, and put that to one side. Then I think I've got just one more, which is a large one this time. So again, just kind of covering the whole thing. And with the coffee dye, it's literally, it's coffee, you know, instant coffee mixed with water. I don't kind of have a formula or a recipe that I use. I just judge it by eye. You know, depending on how dark you want it, you would add more coffee to the water. If you wanted it paler, obviously you water it down more. So just judge it by eye, try a little bit out, see if it's kind of the colour that you'd like. And if not, just add either more water or more coffee. So there's no, you know, well, I certainly don't have a particular formula that I use. Okay, so I'm going to pop those there to dry. I'm going to just leave my coffee there because I've got sort of some more papers which I might do after the video. So some other ideas for other things that you can use inside your journal. Obviously, we do have, you know, the whole bunch of the rest of the book pages. So I will hang on to those because we might use those for something else. But some other ideas for other things that you might want to use. I've just brought along, oops. So I painted some flowers. Now I painted these flowers years ago, actually, a couple of years ago. So you could do your own kind of little watercolour doodles and, you know, flowers and paintings and things like that. that's another way to add some colour. I mean, you might not even want colour. You might be quite happy with your journal quite colourless. But that's another kind of thing that you can do. I've got here a couple of books, and these are just, I mean, this is a leftover book from another project that I had worked on. So you've got lots of very, very, very cute images in here. So you might want to, you know, use an old book like this. That's obviously a children's book. I've got this gorgeous book here, My Garden of Flower Fairies. I love this book so much. I have not used this at all. Managed to buy it for only 50p at a car boot sale. Let me just move my copy out the way so that I can get the whole book into the video. Hold on. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous book. So if you've got any books like this, you know, they would be lovely for adding gorgeous colours and pictures and things like that. This one's got loads of flowers that you could fussy cut out. You've obviously got the fairies themselves, you know, a whole abundance of different flowers and things like that. So, you know, you might have things like this already at home. Other sources would be magazines and things like that. Or you may have adult colouring books, things like that. Perhaps you could use things like that for some nice pictures and images as well. I do have one more book which I'm also considering. Now, I've torn the cover off of this, and let's see. This is Garden Flowers in Colour. So this is a vintage book. It's from 1936. And it's got all these beautiful pictures in here of all these flowers. So again, you know, if you've got any gardening books or, you know, flower type books or anything, you're going to find some lovely images in there that you'd be able to decorate your journal up. So hopefully that's given you some initial ideas as to, you know, how to start your altered book junk journal. And then the other thing that, of course, you could use, and I absolutely love using, is old paper bags. So if you've got any paper bag, this is some old brown paper bag that I have got. I absolutely love, love, love using paper bag in my things and my journals. So definitely you could use this. You may want to use things like staples, you know, a stapler and things for attaching things. That would be awesome as well. Just anything that you can find, really. I mean, again, I've got some old clothes here of my daughters. Sorry, just trying to reach down to get them. Some old clothes here of my daughters, which I'm going to hopefully be able to tear these down and, you know, make little ruffles and things like that on the edges of the page. So, you know, another great thing that you would be able to use. I've got this old jumper of my son's, and, you know, although it's a jumper, so I probably wouldn't really be using it, it's got this collar. So I'm going to cut the collar out, you know, this section here, and just use this part. This has got buttons, so again, I could use the buttons and things. And all this fabric can all be coffee dyed in exactly the same way as we coffee dyed the paper. So I may do that with some of this as well, to, you know, just really bring that extra vintagey kind of appearance into the journal. I personally would use a lot of things like stamps and, you know, craft stamps, I mean, stamped items. Again, I'm kind of thinking that this is possibly for people who maybe don't have craft stamps and things, because, you know, you maybe are only just kind of delving into papercraft for your first time. So again, if you don't have kind of craft stamps and things, you could always try and doodle your own things, you know, pull up on Google Images a pack of stamps that you like, maybe try drawing them or something, you know, or just any old little sketches. By that, I mean, like, you know, a checker pattern or something like that. You know, just using like a black Sharpie or even just pencils, to be honest, would be fine as well. And then the only other thing really is postage stamps. And again, I obviously have quite a lot of vintage postage stamps, so I would probably use those. If you don't have vintage postage stamps, you could always use modern postage stamps. They do not have to be vintage. Just anything goes, anything. You know, yeah, just the goal is to just have fun and just make a book that you can treasure and that you're going to feel really proud of. And then I will be back and we can do then some decorating of the pages and, you know, bringing it together to form our journal and hopefully, you know, make it take on the look of a journal. So yeah, I hope it's given you some ideas, and hopefully you'll join me next time for a bit more of you know, the actual working in the book. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks then. Bye.